Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to game week 22. We usually do this via the goals and assists imminent tables, which use the Fantasy Football Scout members area stats to try and predict future returns. This week we have had so few games that we'll do a quick recap of the table so far. Not many have played so far, so that'll be quite quick. And next week we will reveal the latest names on the list. Instead, this time around we're going to focus on unfashionable picks. It's something we do every now and again. These are low-owned players that have gone out of fashion that could prove to be fashionistas, though, and score big. And so people will be proved wrong. Who knows? In addition, we'll reveal our early thoughts for Game Week 22. Take any questions you have at the end of the stream. So have a think about those. Post your questions in the live chat. My name is Joe, and joining me is Tom Freeman, Fantasy Football Scout's Deputy Editor. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Joe. Yeah, it's been a quiet start for my own team in Game Week 21. I've only had 3 players play so far. Yeah. So it's quite an odd weekend. It felt like I was kind of protect my rank rather than kind of make any gains. But it means I'm really excited for the weekend. We've obviously got 5 games to go. Yeah. Got 8 players involved in that. And since we were last on, we're going to go through it later. But we've obviously had a double game week announcement as well for 25. Yeah. And we're going to know a lot more by the Game Week 21 deadline as well in terms of blanks and doubles. So, yeah, it's an interesting time.
Welcome those joining us in the live chat. Rodrev has anticipated my question, which is my YouTube playback is not playing back. So I'm assuming you can all see and hear us. Rodrev says, before Joe asks, everything is good. Okay, excellent. And Colm says, Joe, are they ever going to let you take a holiday ever? No. Not at all. I'm beneath the stairs as we speak in my cupboard, and I daren't go out. I don't know what happens to me if they let me out. Okay. Before we start having a look, just to recap on those tables. Just a reminder to everyone to press that like button. Also subscribe as well if you're not already, to keep update with our latest videos and podcasts if you're listening to this back. Also have a look at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for the latest offers there for the members area. All the stats that we show here are from the members area. You can do all sorts of things there. You can look at heat maps for the matches, all the latest stats in those matches, rate my team, all that kind of stuff. But have a look, have a fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. And have a look at options to sign up. Okay, welcome to, well, I've already welcomed Roger and Colm. Facts is asking a lot of questions. McCloppin, Sai, Sakan, Woodstock, Mikey, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us early. Have a think about some questions for towards the end of the show. This bit's going to be quick. It's just having a recap on our tables. We always do this at the beginning of the show, but hardly anyone's played. And so, yeah, I mean, those that have, I've tried to mention. They did anything. Gordon in the goals imminent is the only name really. A lot of people are getting rid of him. We've seen him coming off some benches as well. But yeah, it just underlines that he is a sure starting winger in a really good attacking side. They did lose Newcastle, but Gordon did well. So yeah, Gordon, I mean, I don't know if he's in your team. We'll look at our teams in a bit. But if he was, if he was in my team, I'd keep him. It's good fixtures coming up as well for Newcastle.
Yeah, it was a really well taken goal, wasn't it, against City? His and Isak's were brilliant. Yeah. And so he's got a goal and assist against Liverpool and Man City in his last 2. And you just mentioned it then, the fixtures. So game week 23, I think it's Luton and then Forest, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
then Bournemouth, 25.
Yeah, and Bournemouth obviously improving, but it's a home fixture for Newcastle, and I think I know they slipped up against Forest recently, but they generally do well at home. So for sure, Gordon, if you held on to him, and a lot of people did, he's a keep now. I think for the next few weeks, certainly,
definitely. And on the assists imminent table, a few Arsenal players haven't played yet. I hope they do. There's someone in the live chat. John was saying in the live chat, I really hope this week's Saka is super generous and gives his penalty to his, I believe it's his captain Odegaard. I hope not, because I captain Saka, so I hope he's massively selfish and keeps that ball to himself and scores from it if he gets a penalty.
Odegaard did take one against Palace. Wasn't this one of the first matches when I'm sure he scored a penalty at Selhurst Park
Yeah.
earlier this
Oh,
year.
don't say that.
Maybe that would be playing on Saka's mind. I mean, I own them both. I own them both, so I don't really care.
Although
But
did Saka get what did Saka get last time we played Palace? He got 18 points, wasn't it, at Selhurst Park?
in the corresponding fixture. So our last season at the Emirates, though. Now you're exactly right. You got 18 points, 2 goals and an assist and bonus, I think. So he got the beating of Tyreek Mitchell that day, which bodes well. I think, for myself, I'm a Saka captain as well. I just want a big win, clean sheet in that match, and we'll be happy.
Okay. We've got a few blanks though. Obviously the Newcastle lads, Trippier as well, Wilson, Kulusevski didn't play, was ill. Fernandez didn't do much. I had Garnacho, and I thought he was good. I'm happy to keep playing him. Grealish, obviously blanked, and a doggy who shackled my Garnacho. He blanked, but he won the battle of football that weekend in keeping my player quiet.
Yeah, I thought United looked okay going forward. And so Garnacho's obviously part of that new look front. Well, not new look three, but that front three, which is kind of seems to be improving. They're not quite there yet, but they're getting better for sure. So Garnacho remains a good pick, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we're a week or two away from other content creators and us saying, maybe we should get Rashford in, because the fixtures are really good for Manchester United. Yeah. We've got Wolves in 22, then West Ham, Villa, but then Luton, Fulham, game week 26. We've got Everton at home, game week 28. I mean, that's City derby at 27 as well. But some all right fixtures there, and Rashford's been quietly doing well. So it could be a topic of conversation amongst content creators soon. I think that, what we'll do is we'll look at these tables in a bit more detail next week, find out who's done well, because a lot of them are from Arsenal. There's Liverpool players as well there as well. They just haven't played yet. So what I have got, to pad this out a bit, got a regular look at unfashionable players. So this is on a theme of goals imminent in terms of their low own. But even if they've been scoring, for some reason, people just aren't interested. I think I've got 3 players here that are over 5%, but everyone's below 10%. And a lot of them are far less as well. So let's have a look at this list of unfashionable players, and we'll go through them and see if why they're not in our teams yet. Oscar Bob is top here. Now, I know why he's not in the team, because it's on the starts column, it's got a big fat 0. But he's 4.4 million. He has scored. He's got 0.1% ownership. Hasn't created any chances yet, but his minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, every 47.4 minutes, which says to me, whenever he gets an opportunity to come on, he takes advantage of it. And we've seen with Kevin De Bruyne, who is a very fashionable player at the moment, Kevin De Bruyne, what damage you can do in, say, 20, 25 minutes or so. So I'm not considering Oscar Bob, and I'm not saying, get Oscar Bob in. But what I'm saying is, if you've got a setup where you want a 4.5 million midfielder and you want to save a bit of money, and he has a double coming up, he'll get some minutes in that double. I don't think if it's enabling other things, I don't think getting him is that fanciful. But yeah, what do you think?
He made an impact at the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah.
Great goal, great winner. There's a lot of competition there down the flanks, isn't there? Grealish was on the bench at the weekend. Doku's back now. Foden, I think, will probably find himself on that, probably on the right flank once De Bruyne is back up to speed. So there's competition. It just, we've got this double in 25, and I suppose we just want to maximise that, don't we? Given that both games are at home, they've got good fixtures either side. They don't blank in 26 either. So it's how are you going to get the most out of that City triple up? And who are the 3 players that you want to go in with? Obviously, if budget isn't an issue, you're probably going to go Haaland if he's fit, De Bruyne if he's starting matches, and maybe somebody like Kyle Walker. But then again, triple attack might not be a terrible idea, because in a double game week, most of them are probably going to start one and then get some minutes off the bench in the other. It would take a lot for me to go for Oscar Bob and use one of those spots, I think, on him. but it showed you the impact that wide player can have at City. And I was looking at Doku last week a little bit. Wasn't completely sure if he'd start or not, but they're the team we want to look at.
We'll come to Doku in a sec. But yeah, also just to flag up, I did a Manchester City options or Manchester City players video earlier this week. Do have a look at that. And that looks at all the different options, whether you should go for a defender as well, and whether you should get all three, max out on Man City. In my case, I've got quite I haven't got a familiar setup because I've got Haaland in my team still, but I've got Foden. And I think by 25, if Haaland is definitely fit, Haaland will be in most teams.
Yeah.
So you're looking at probably Foden and Haaland in many teams. So it's that third player you're looking for. And like you, Doku is one I'm interested in. If I need the money, I don't mind going for an Oscar Bob, which sounds like I'm about to nip off to the toilet or something. But it got me rhyming slang or something. I don't know what it rhymes with, but
well, budget is going to be really interesting, especially if this double for Liverpool happens in 25 as well, because suddenly you want Alexander-Arnold, you want Salah, you're going to want Haaland, so it's going to be difficult. Son's going to be coming back around that time. De Bruyne is there.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the budget there, but that could actually become an issue for a lot of managers.
Exactly. And during a double game week, you never know. You've got to take a risk. Yeah. Jota's next on the list. He hasn't played yet for Liverpool in game week 21. So we don't know, his availability. Most people watching it think he's the best goal scorer and he should be playing up front. But he's not every game, and it's still a minute's risk. But nevertheless, he can do some damage. He has scored. He has a couple of assists. He has no starts in his last 6 game weeks. And this is the last 6 game weeks, not 6 matches. So there is a slight unevenness about this because obviously certain players have played more. So I've just put them in here because you've got to get a metric somewhere. And I think these are good players. And I think the last 6 game weeks, even if they've only played 5 matches or something like that, in those in that time frame, it still gives you an idea who's sort of not fashionable at the moment. Jota isn't 5.9% owned, really real differential still, but created a couple of chances, 2 assists, 1 goal, 13 FPL points. Salah not around. I don't know. I mean, I've seen him in a lot of teams. He could really do well.
He's in my team.
Really?
So,
that's where I've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I went up to the wire really to deadline. I had 3 players in mind for the midfield spot.
Yeah.
It was Phil Foden, which I think a lot of people went for. Yeah. Pascal Gross and Jota as well. Yeah. And I think given the rank that I was at the time, I was about 400k. It was the type of risk I was happy to go for over Foden. It's the kind of player I need to go for if I want to make up ground, because it's kind of high risk. It's high risk, but high reward, isn't it? I suppose that we spoke about it loads of time. He is that kind of player who can go and get a brace out of limited minutes. And look, I don't know if he'll even start against Bournemouth. There's a lot of cup games around that for Liverpool, but I think he'll get minutes. I think he's their best finisher with Salah not around. And I was happy to gamble on it. So let's see.
I mean, if the choice for you or many others was Jota or Foden, you've already probably won because Foden blanked there. But I mean, over time, maybe not, but definitely this week.
Yeah, I wasn't completely comfortable going for Foden because I've got Alvarez already.
Right.
Haaland coming back, De Bruyne. I wanted to leave myself a little bit open with those City spots and not commit to anybody just yet.
Yeah.
So then it was between really Gross and Jota, and I went for the more explosive pick. Okay. Might not work, but I thought it was worth a roll of the dice.
Good. No, he was definitely in the frame when I chose Foden in the end. Pascal Gross as well, who's also on this list. We'll come to him in a sec.
Yes.
Next name is Raheem Sterling. 3 starts in the last 6 game weeks. 3 assists though. I wonder how he gets them. He's pretty amazing at winning penalties. Yeah. And he has a really good penalty taker in his side. He's 8.3% owned. He's the most owned out of this list. And I think it still suggests an unfashionability though, because I seem to remember him being 25% owned at some point this season. but he's certainly in a lot of teams. There was a bit of a clamour to get him. I think he did well one game week, and his ownership shot up.
Yeah, it's Luton. Luton wasn't it in the early weeks of the season, and a lot of people went there.
Well, obviously, this is pre-Palmer, so we're unsure. But nevertheless, so Chelsea's fixtures, I think, are poor at the moment. But it's just something to bear in mind. Yes, they've got Liverpool next in game 22. Then they've got Wolves at home and Crystal Palace. And well, I mean, someone's got to win penalties for Palmer. Someone's got to fall over all the time, and so Raheem Sterling could be that man. And he can get assists in other ways as well and score. He does have City in game week 25, but then Tottenham, Brentford, and Newcastle. The Tottenham Chelsea game, in my head it always seems high scoring. It always seems eventful, Tottenham and Chelsea. Anyway, so
it can be a lively match given the rivalry.
I mean, I'm not personally looking at Sterling, and so I consider him unfashionable as well. But I just think people aren't going to go for him. But in good fixtures, if Chelsea can score a lot, then I think he could do well.
Yeah, I think it's the Palmer factor, isn't it? I think Palmer's still 5.7.
Yeah.
It's very hard to look past him. So I think if I was going to bring Sterling in, it would be as part of a double up. It wouldn't just be instead of Palmer. Then we need the fixtures to be good.
Yeah.
They're not good at the moment, but they might be.
Yeah.
And and so I suppose with Chelsea as well, Nkunku could become a factor. He's obviously out at the moment, but that's another player who you could complement with Palmer.
Yeah.
When the fixtures are better, but not at the moment. I'm not looking at them.
No. Next name is my favourite player, Chris Wood. 4.9 million. Scored 4 goals in his last 6 game weeks and an assist. Only 4.9 million. 32 FPL points. He's marginally overperformed by a couple of goal involvements. So quite a bit there. But his ownership is 1.7. I mean, he is the epitome of unfashionable, this guy. He's created 3 chances, got an assist, got 4 goals. He's 4.9 million. What more could he do to become fashionable? And he's still owned by 1.7 million. I guess the fixtures are an issue. They've got Arsenal up next in game week 22. But then they've got Bournemouth, Newcastle, West Ham, and then they have Villa, Liverpool, Brighton. But that Brighton game, I mean, he's an ex-Brighton player, so as well. So, he could do well there. I mean, he's the poster boy for unfashionable picks, isn't he?
Yeah, I think in a 3-5-2, you'd have to give him a bit of consideration, wouldn't you? Because there's a bit of uncertainty at Sheffield United at the moment with Cameron Archer and the new guy Diaz who has come in. So, I think he should be under consideration if you're in that setup. And I think that Forest under Nuno have started to improve a bit, haven't they?
Yeah.
Won a couple of games in a row in the league. He's probably going to get chances with Alanga, Gibbs White, Hudson Odoi there.
Yeah.
Might just want to get an update on Awoniyi and where he's at in terms of fitness, but if he's going to miss the next few games, then should have that spot nailed down, I would have thought.
Should do as well. And if there's any potential repercussions from the action that's going on with Forest and indeed Everton, if Everton's experience is anything to go by, then Forest should do well because they'll be galvanised and angry. Nick's name is Gakpo on the list as well. Similar issues to Jota. You've gone for Jota though. Gakpo, once again, he's still doing a job. He's had just a couple of starts, but he has scored. He has assisted. He's performing in terms of expected goal involvement delta exactly as he should. He's got minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty. Last 6 game weeks, this is of 120 minutes, and his ownership is just 2.4% owned. Created 5 chances. He's probably behind Jota, isn't he, in terms of getting FPL returns, but nevertheless, he's got to be considered, I think, especially if they double.
Yeah, he's going to get minutes because he can play in a couple of positions, can't he? Well, more than 2 positions, but he can slot into midfield as well. The reason I didn't look at him was because it was a midfield spot I had, and so Gakpo was never really a factor in it. I think Jota's a better finisher as well than Gakpo, but that doesn't, Liverpool, they're top of the league and they're firing, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I would think all of their attackers are probably going to do okay. When will Salah come back? We don't know. They've obviously got this massive game against Ghana on Thursday. If they lose that, they can still get through as third place in the group. I still think he's highly likely to get through, but it makes it a bit more interesting, doesn't it? I think they've got to play Cape Verde after that on the Monday. But the longer that he's away, the more minutes the supporting actor, I suppose, is going to get. So that's why I was happy to roll the dice. And on the one hand, I want Salah back, but as a Jota owner, I probably want him to stay away a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the deadline for Game Week 22. I mean, this is a long way off, so this is real early planning for this.
Yeah.
The Deadline Dilemmas video we've got a podcast out that later this week. I understand the FPL Manual is going to be joining Rich and Praz to talk about AFCON, talk about Salah's potential return, when he might return it. That is taking place after the Egypt match, I believe, so they'll have much more information then. But yeah, but nevertheless, we got ages. It's like end of January is the next deadline.
2 weeks today is the 22 deadline. So we've still got 14 days. There's a lot of information we're going to get, and I'll talk about that when we do the team reveals. But I don't want to preach like a lot of people and say don't make early transfers, but don't make early transfers this week because there is so much we're going to learn before that 22 deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it all week, and I've been getting basically people who've made early transfers start having a go at me. Oh, let people play their own game, and it's fine. Everyone play their own game, but really their argument of let everyone play their own game, which of course I am. People don't have to listen to me. Is let people have their own opinion, and my opinion and your opinion is don't make early transfers when there's so much up in the air, and it's
and I think even more so this week than ever. You know, I get it at the start of the season. I get it if you've got a strong squad and there's money's tight or whatever, and you've got good first subs, etc. But this week is the 1 week so far not to do anything.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some weeks it's like, I've only got 1.1 left to do this transfer. But this week, everyone's. I had a quick look at the FPL Generals Elite 64 League just to see if I was the only one with Haaland still, which I still am, in the top 10 or so of that league. And everyone there, they veer between having about 5 million in the bank is the lowest. And someone there's got 13 million in the bank.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically we're not short of money at the moment. You don't need 0.1 just because you think you might. But you don't at the moment.
Yeah, and I think transfers will. I think we've even seen it over the past day or so. They'll slow down now.
Oh yeah.
De Bruyne will probably get another rise in the next week or so, but I don't think it's going to affect us too much.
No. Next name is Pascal Gross. Yes, his ownership is 7%. I have seen him in a few teams, a few unfashionable people, but he is unfashionable still. People aren't going for him. Yeah. You were considering. Instead of Jota, I got Foden in, but Gross was definitely very much in consideration. It's because I always think back last season, everyone going, Matoma and Ciso, and Ciso with his Puskas, runner-up goal. But it's Pascal Gross was emerged as the top scorer because he just ticks away. He's had a couple of assists, he's got 20 FPL points, he's good for bonus, he can score the odd goal, hasn't in the last 6 game weeks, but can. He's pretty much nailed on to start. He only hasn't through injury occasionally. He's underperformed by at least a goal involvement, and he's had 21 chances. So he's really going for it. He's 6.5 million. He is unfashionable. People are a bit sniffy about him because he's not, very, very attacking. And he's like a 30-something, bloke who plays for Brighton. But I think he's very, very underrated still. I mean, the ownership shows.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Joe. I think that people maybe have preconceptions about him because he played quite a bit at right back last year. So it's that reverse out of position tag, isn't it? But he's not doing that this year. Hardly at all. It's been Hinchelwood, hasn't it, at right back? And he's been, when he's in that 10 position, Gross, it's great. Maybe he's going to be a bit deeper against Wolves. I don't know what system you play. I think I saw a predicted lineup in a diamond, so he might be a little bit deeper. But he's still got those set pieces in his locker, even when he's a bit deeper. Yeah. A lot of the chances he's created that will have stemmed from set pieces. And the fixtures are really good, really good. I mean, I think 3 of the next 4 are away, but I'd have backed Brighton to score in every single one of those games.
They're top of the. They're still. I mean, I did videos last week. Brighton were top of the fixture ticker over the next 7 or so. They're still top. This run keeps going. So yeah, they got Luton in 22 away, then Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Sheffield United. And that's crucial in game week 25. And then they got Everton in 26, and 26 when there's going to be blanks. So you'll need your Brighton players. And then you've got 27. They got Fulham, 28, game week 28, Nottingham Forest. I mean, I've never seen a run. It just keeps going. This good run of fixtures.
It's a key reason why I brought in a Stupinan, because I needed to sort out my defence, but he's the kind of player, providing he stays fit, that you can leave for a good chunk of 8-9 game weeks or whatever and not worry about it. So, and the same applies to Gross. And yeah, he was very close to coming in.
A few people in the live chat have been commenting on this. So we talk about money in the bank. How you really don't need that 0.1 to make that early move. Finn Evans has got 14.4 in the bank.
Okay, that's a record.
Wow, that could be a record. But but that just shows, with the Garnacho and these types of players, you don't need.
He's probably sold Salah, Son, Haaland. So
just sitting there. Tyler has actually captained Pascal Gross. Well done. I hope he does well, nice. And I hope all his goals were assisted by Stupinan, who's both in mine and Tom's team. Or indeed,
Gross can assist Stupinan.
Yeah, either way, as long as there's involvement somewhere along the line. Next name's Doku. Now we mentioned him briefly. I've got Foden and Haaland in my team. If I'm going for a third City asset, I'm not too interested in a defence. It's probably Doku, because in game 25, when they're doubling, they have Chelsea and Brentford at home.
Yeah.
And so good fixtures. He's had just 2 FPL points last 6 games because he hasn't played. He's been injured. Just that one start, but it's some of those other matches where against sort of weaker teams, perhaps might defend a lot. Brentford are going to do a lot of defending in that game. Doku, his sort of trickery could be utilised there. I don't know. I think he's the third place for me at the moment in my head, ahead of 25.
Yeah, there's a lot of options, isn't there? Bernardo Silva as well, who will probably get more minutes, but then maybe not as explosive. No. So it depends what you want to go for. I think that looked at it yesterday, and City play Copenhagen on the Tuesday, and then it's Chelsea on the Saturday. So that's not a bad turnaround. Yeah. I think Doku will start one, and he'll probably get 20 minutes off the bench in the other, maybe a bit less than that, because Pep doesn't always use his subs. No. But I think you'll get enough minutes to get a return out of those 2 home matches. And so, it'll be popular. I can see Alvarez, if once Haaland's back, that popularity going that way, and players like Bernardo and Doku probably going the other way. So
definitely, 2.5% owned, Doku. So unfashionable at the moment. Kuna at Wolves is next on the list. He's 7% owned, so a little bit more appealing to people, obviously. But 29 FPL points for 5.8 million. He's had 5 starts across his 6 game weeks, and 2 assists and 2 goals. I mean, these are good returns. He's even created 8 chances. I've mentioned this is my weekly mention of the Sky team, but I got him in for a single game day fixture. You can change players during the week. I got him in for a particular day when only Wolves and another team were playing. And that was ages ago, and he just stayed. He just stayed because he kept scoring or assisting, as this shows. But Wolves, the fixtures aren't too bad, are they? Manchester United, Chelsea, Brentford, Tottenham, Sheffield United, up to game week 26. It's that game week 26 fixture that's interesting as well, against Sheffield United. Yeah. If Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool, these types of teams blank in that game week, you're going to want players with good fixtures. And Kuna, I mean, anyone free hit. If I was free hitting in 26, I think I'd get Kuna in.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing really, really well, hasn't he, for a while now, actually. Yeah. He used to appear on these tables at the start of the season. Yeah. We would be like, has he got it in him to go on a run? And he has, and he's done it. There's no Wang at Wolves at the moment, but Neto's come back. So we're expecting him to start at Brighton. And so if you're Cunha and you've got Neto on one side and Sarabia on the other, that's creativity. That's chances being created for you. Wouldn't surprise me if he does well over the next few. Fixtures are mixed, I think, but game week 26 is interesting. So.
Yeah, definitely. Luton are interesting as well. So I'm gonna come to Luton in a sec. So I just want to get a couple of other players out of the way, then we'll do the 2 Luton players. So Alanga, I saw that he's injured at the moment as well. Nevertheless, unfashionable. I put him in the same bracket as Garnacho. I was actually thinking of getting Alanga in. It's the fixtures really, but he's had 26 FPL points last 6 game weeks. He's had 3 assists and a goal, and he's only 1.7% owned. I mean, I do not know what more he'll have to do to get ownership, and the fixtures are mixed, but they do have that nice run of Bournemouth, Newcastle. Newcastle's defence are poor at the moment, and then West Ham from 23 to 25. So there is a sort of little run of fixtures there. I don't mind him, and Willian is another. He's from Fulham, 5.3 million. He's, I don't know, 300 years old or whatever he is, but he's still good. In fact, he seems to be better now than he ever was. Anyway, just a goal in the last 6 game weeks, but he always looks on the cusp of scoring, and he's marginally underperformed, 0.7% ownership. Fulham's fixtures aren't too bad. Everton, Burnley, Bournemouth and Aston Villa up next.
All right, yeah.
Pretty good, but I'm sure people aren't interested in them, but they've got to be mentioned. Unfashionable picks that are doing well.
Yeah, I like him. I think he disappointed a bit against Chelsea, but he got in some good positions, just lacking that final ball. He's on don't forget he's on penalties too as well at Fulham.
He is.
Taking some set pieces. So there's actually quite a lot to like, and it's that Burnley-Bournemouth game, I suppose. The Burnley-Bournemouth game is in the next 3. Even Everton at home. I mean, Everton, they looked pretty solid against us at the weekend, but Fulham are at home, so you probably back them to score. 3 of the next 4 at home. So
and so it's 2 Luton players next. So Adebayo he's had 2 goals. He's only 1.1% owned. He's sort of ousted Morris from the side. Morris has come on and sort of subbed in for him when he's been fit. And my favourite, Alfie Doughty, is here as well. He didn't make. I sort of did this by minutes per expected goal involvement over the last 6 game weeks, and he didn't make that list. Obviously, defender, but I still think it's worth mentioning him. He's only in 4% of teams. I've been banging on about him for about 3 weeks now. I've seen that Mark Southerns has just brought him in as well, so someone's listened.
Yeah, I spotted that.
But he's had 3 assists every time and a goal. He's returned to the last 3 game weeks. And so every time I watch Luton play, he looks like he's going to get an assist. Every time someone scores, I know it's Alfie Doughty has assisted. That's all the player you want in FPL. I'm really pleased he's in my team, and I'm really pleased that 96% of the team aren't getting him in. So everything I've said about him, just ignore. Just keep him unfashionable, please.
Yeah, it's a bit like not owning Porro. It's not nice as a non-owner because he's so involved. I watched the Burnley game on Friday night, and the amount of crosses he whips in is just, I mean, it's the whole part of Rob Edwards' approach, isn't it? Get the ball wide, get balls into the box. And for a player like Doughty, who's got that bit of quality, I think it's 1 goal and 3 assists in the last 3. You've obviously benefited from quite a lot of that, Joe. And if they get that double in 25, he's going to be a very popular pick, isn't he? He won't be a differential much longer, because I think they play Sheffield United the week before as well. So a lot of people will probably make the move then.
But of course they would if there is a double in 25, it's because there's a blank in 26. And that's when I might even say goodbye to him. Or he might just sit on the bench. But game week 20, as you said, if there's a double, his name will be mentioned more. He'll become very fashionable again.
Yes, he will.
Okay. Let's have a look at our teams as well. So we'll have a look at. So we can't do bus teams or any business like that because half of our game week 21 players haven't played yet. So it's too far off to accurately do that. So what we will do though is just assess how we're doing so far. As you said, you've only had 3 people play, so you've got 13 points, which is absolutely fine with 3 players. Wow. Do you want to take us through your team and what your general vague thoughts are for game week 22, considering you have no Salah, Haaland, Son, all the people who possibly won't be available, probably in Son's case and Salah's. But yeah, lots to think about. Yeah. So take us through your team and what you're thinking for 22.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really started game week 21 for me yet, but we've got Areola at Sheffield United in goal. I've got 3 defenders, Alexander-Arnold, who probably won't play, but I put him in on the off chance he will. Unfortunately, now Charlie Taylor didn't play either, so that would mean Mark Gahey coming off the bench. Not expecting anything there, but I didn't think it was worth a hit for anybody at the time. So that's where we're at with that. And then I've got Gabriel and Estupinan as well. So those 2 defenders, a lot more potential than Gahey if he has to play. I've got Saka as my captain, Odegaard as well, new signing Jota, and then Palmer's 10 points as well. And then up front, I've got Solanke, and then Alvarez and Watkins, who have already played. And on the bench, Dubravka, Taylor, Gahey, and Salah as well.
Okay, so what's your thoughts for 22? Because obviously, currently, you potentially don't have a captain or could have a captain. But yeah, what's your general thoughts of? I guess if Haaland's back, you want to get him back. Have you got 2 free? You got 2 free transfers?
No, I've got 1 free transfer now. So
how much you got in the bank?
Not a lot. So I think I looked at it last week. I could do Haaland in 2 moves, basically, by taking out a striker and then probably downgrading Odegaard. That would be my route to him. And it's very hard to commit to moves at the moment. We were talking before we came on about how much we're going to know by the game week 22 deadline, which we don't know already. So we're going to know the AFCON and the Asian Cups are going to be into the last 16s. So we'll have a bit more of an idea about when Salah's going to come back, Son, etc. We'll know about blank game week 26. We're going to know exactly who's going to blank then. We're going to know probably if there's another game to be added to double game week 25, if Liverpool-Luton moves forward. So there's all of that information. And then there's obviously the transfer window open, there's injury updates and stuff. So it's hard to commit now. I think for Haaland, the only way I'd bring him in is if he gets minutes off the bench against Tottenham in the FA Cup next Friday. If he were to get 20, 30 minutes off the bench in that, he then becomes a consideration for Burnley. If he doesn't feature against Spurs, there's no way I don't think I'll bring him in, because even if Pep then says, he might be ready, I doubt he's going to go in and play 80, 90 minutes. So that Tottenham game in the Cup feels key. If Haaland isn't going to be fit for that game in game week 22, that's probably my captain sorted, because I'll probably go to Alvarez knowing that he's on penalties, set pieces. He's going to lead the line. So that's key. What happens with Haaland, it has a knock-on effect to other areas of the team. So I'm not really sure about transfers. I think City are the team you want to target. You've got to be thinking about the doubles. That's the next thing to think about.
So if Haaland isn't fit, sorry, my dogs are going mental at the moment. If Haaland is not fit, or if there's just any sort of doubt, you're not going to get him in. Alvarez is a great captain, but what else would you do? So Salah, very, very unlikely to be back. Alexander-Arnold could be back. Would you make a transfer or save?
I would probably save. I could, if Odegaard goes up in price by 0.1, so I'd need a big performance at the weekend from him to do that. I could do Odegaard to KDB in 1 move.
Oh, wow.
So I'm 0.1 off that, and KDB's going up as well. So that might not be possible, but it could be if Odegaard gets a brace at the weekend or something. So, but then I'll probably have to move up early, which I've been saying I wouldn't do. I probably would save and get a little bit more information, and then make the moves for the City players the week after. I mean, the Burnley game is a prime fixture for City, though. This is kind of when you want to make the move, but with Haaland, we might not be able to do that. So there's loads up in the air. I can't really commit to moves at the moment, but the double game week 25 is probably the focus now.
So game week 25, obviously Brentford, a double as well, but it's a tough one. They've got Liverpool and Man City, but Ivan Toney is, has pedigree. He could be in consideration there if you want to get another double game week player. And you mentioned 22 about looking for, like a captain or the fixture to target. By coincidence, we also have this week a captaincy video out, so we'll be recording that after this, and so that should go out tonight. So have a look at that. So that'll be more my and Tom's thoughts about that. But yeah, as you said, with that Burnley game for Man City, you really want to be captaining a City player, I think. This game week, but
I think so.
So all eyes on Haaland, perhaps. Okay, here's my increasingly preposterous team with Haaland and Salah on the bench. I was tempted to keep Son just for laughs, just see how expensive my bench could go. So I've spent a hit this week, and the reason I spent a hit is because I had Tariq Lamptey, and Tariq Lamptey was sitting there, red flagged. He's never coming back, or he will at some point, but and I don't, with Salah, Haaland, with a blank coming up in 26, I could just see, that it was getting to be a real problem having Lamptey there. I needed the flexibility of having players that play. I needed a bench players that play, that are there. And also I need players in 26 as well, game week 26. So I just thought, well, I'm just gonna make that move now, just get it out of the way, and I've upgraded him to a Stupinan, a player I wanted to get. And getting increasingly popular, and I think that 4-point hit that I've taken this week, I think it's just going to pay itself off if I just look at that move in isolation. There, so I've got a 4-4-2 this week with Areola in goal, Alfie Doughty obviously with his 5 points, Gabriel, Pedro Porro 6 points there, and a Stupinan. So I've got Gabriel and a Stupinan still to play. Phil Foden blanked for me, but still looked involved. Man City is still looking good. Saka's my captain. Palmer got me 10 points. Garnacho blanked, but I'm still impressed with him. Going to keep him and keep fielding him, I think. Solanke up top still to play. Watkins blanked and just the 1 point. And on my bench, I've got Dubravka's 3 points, Haaland, Salah, and Anderson. And I've got about 1 point something, 1.5, 1.7 or something in the bank. So plenty to go, and I hope I do well. I'm still in the top 100k. So I'm sort of, this week I've floated between 60k and 110k or something, but I'm 90 something at the moment, and hopefully that'll go up. But some people I've kept Haaland all this time, but I don't actually think I still don't really think it's actually harmed me, because as I said, a lot of other people, they've just kept the Haaland money on the bank. So I don't see much difference apart from the fact I've got Haaland and I don't have to make that transfer. But nevertheless, if I'd have known back in December that he was off for like 5 game weeks or whatever it is going to be, obviously I would have moved him on. But I mean, you've had Alvarez, and he's got the occasional return and stuff, but he hasn't. It's not exactly woo.
No, he's got. I think I got him in before Everton, so he scored. He got 8 points in that. He got 7 points against Sheffield United. Yeah. But if you owned Alvarez, you probably captained him that week and didn't captain Salah.
Exactly. So it cost you the points. It cost you. The points.
Yeah. And then since then, I mean, he had a few chances at Newcastle, didn't he? Bit like Foden, but just didn't quite get over the line with them. Yeah. I mean, you've got Watkins, you've got Solanke as well. That could have hurt if you didn't have Solanke, because he got the hat trick.
Well, that's it. I've already got him in.
But you had him. So, you're probably.
I had some guy on Twitter doing some audit on my team or something ridiculous, and going, "Oh, you haven't won out by not having Haaland." I didn't say wow. I mean, just it haven't cost me, and but by having Haaland on your bench. But Solanke's the player everyone got in. And Alvarez is the player I haven't got really, and he would have cost me points in that week when I captained Salah, and lots of people captained Alvarez. I would have captained Alvarez if I'd had him. So you can't categorically. I mean, I indeed can't categorically say it hasn't cost me, but you definitely can't say it has cost me.
You're doing okay. A lot of people would take your rank at the moment. Right. So and you've got him. I suppose it's just what if he doesn't play against Spurs?
Blimey.
And then there's no
I can't get rid of him now, can I?
No. So would you then keep him and Salah on the bench again, or would you sell Salah?
I don't
If you
know.
know he's got a double, if he's got a double in 25, it's very hard to sell him.
I'm okay this week because there's a lot of cheap players with good fixtures, but next week you're looking at things like KDB and players like that. That even with KDB getting 25 minutes, you see what damage he can do. So it's a question of, I will start missing out on the options there, and I could use that money. Thinking about Haaland, he was ready to come back for training ahead of the Newcastle game. The medical staff then pulled him out, not Pep, but the medical staff pulled him out.
Yeah.
Because there was been an issue with his foot. So then he wasn't part of an initial bit of training afterwards. As far as I know, he's with them and training with them warm weather wise. So
I haven't seen any pictures from that actually.
No, but I haven't seen any pictures at all.
I'd imagine I'd imagine something will emerge, but yeah, I just haven't seen anything about it yet.
So
I presume they're over there now.
So yeah, as you said, that Spurs game. So the Spurs game is not this weekend. Is it this weekend? No.
No, it's a week on Friday.
So it's a week on Friday is the Spurs game. I'm exactly the same with you in terms of where I am with Haaland with that one. In that if he plays or he's on the bench even against Spurs, that says to me that he'll have significant minutes against Burnley. So I'm not obviously expecting Salah back for 22.
No.
So I would have to bench. I think for me, the weird thing is though, I still partly think my team's actually okay for game week 22 because already with what I'm looking at with game week 22 is benching is essentially playing this lot that I've got up here on the screen, probably captaining either Saka again against Forest, which isn't a bad fixture at all, or possibly captaining Foden, which is a good fixture. And so I'm looking at that. And I would have to bench Anderson from this lot.
You play Sheffield United at home. So you can easily play him.
So I can easily play Anderson, Sheffield United at home, which is as good as it gets for Palace, a defensive team against a poor promoted side. So yeah, if Haaland's not back, I could bench him again. In which case I wouldn't.
I think you probably will. But you might play Haaland anyway, just on the off chance.
I mean, I will.
Just get in the nets.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play him. So I'll start with a 3-4-3, and then chances are. I mean, I'd have to. Sorry, if Haaland plays, I'd have to bench Gabriel as well. So I've got Gabriel on my bench against Forest, which is okay. I mean, he's a good first sub, I would say, for this one. But I'd actually quite want to play Anderson.
And then you would play Doughty and Stupinan against each other, but that's fine, right? Because they can both they're both
exactly
there for that attacking threat, aren't they?
Doughty, Porro, and Stupinan. The cliche is you don't get them for clean sheets. I don't get any of them for clean sheets, but I get them for attacking returns, and they're all really good for attacking returns. So weirdly, I might end up keeping Haaland on the bench again.
And what have you got, Joe? Have you got one free transfer?
Just one free transfer, 1.7. But I do have some other thoughts. Okay, what I could do is I could just move Salah to KDB and captain him and just say, what the hell? I'll take 20 minutes. Or just have KDB and just think having him is enough. And then not spend the money. And whenever Salah's back, I've then got an issue, KDB or Salah. But at the same time, I'll have got points. I won't get any points from Salah while he's not playing, obviously. But I'm not so keen on that because I don't like the fact that down the line, I'm going to be faced with an issue. Do I move KDB for Salah ahead of a double game week? Possibly both. I don't like having that thought. But the one I'm actually thinking of doing is, and this is why I need your advice on, because it's about your player, for Aston Villa player, Watkins. Watkins hasn't impressed me recently. If I remove Watkins for Pedro at Brighton, and Pedro I think is going to play most games. I think he's got a great run of fixtures. It's part of just building up Brighton contingent in my side. Play Pedro instead of Watkins, and that gives me enough money to upgrade Anderson in game week 23 to Alexander-Arnold. So then I will have in my side Haaland, Alexander-Arnold and Salah. But Watkins is the guy that doesn't make the cut. And so it's essentially Alexander-Arnold or Watkins. A lot's up in the air because Alexander-Arnold's only injured at the moment. But I'm just thinking if he's back for 22, 23.
I have seen quite a few people thinking about Watkins in that way and selling him because he hasn't scored for a while. He got a couple of assists against Burnley only the week before last and got 8 points. But he hasn't quite been hitting the heights that maybe he was earlier in the season. I would still hesitate selling him because the fixtures are very good for Villa over the next 6. We play in that time. We've got Sheffield United, we've got Fulham, we've got Forest, we've got Luton, we've got good fixtures. 3 of the next 6 are at home where we're very good. And even against Everton at the weekend, he had a couple of chances. He forced a good save from Pickford. And I just think with Watkins, I always say, even when he went through a blank at the start of the season, don't worry about it because his role isn't changing. We're still going to attack as a team and he's still going to tick along. Now, some people might be looking at Ivan Toney maybe and thinking, I'm going to go for the double. But let's be honest, you're plugging into that double. The fixtures around that are not very good for Brentford.
Fixtures at double aren't either.
No, exactly. So it's really the Wolves and the West Ham match either side, which and you're saying, well, in a double. I mean, even Tony has got a good record against top teams. He can deliver against them. But I think that's quite not a risky move, but I think it's quite a bold move to go for him over somebody like Watkins, who's one of the top scoring players this year, who has not done a lot wrong, and he hasn't scored for a while, but he got 2 assists the week before last. He's going to be involved. Yeah. I'd be wary.
I mean, just as you talk, I'm put off selling him. Because I'm just looking at the fixtures. They are really good. Newcastle, Sheffield United, Manchester United, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Luton, Tottenham. I mean, these are good Watkins-y fixtures. And I've also just remembered with Watkins, when he has good fixtures, it's the same with any player, really. Good fixtures breeds good form. And I mean, his fixtures have actually been okay recently. He's had some promoted sides. But
the Burnley one was a bit disappointed when he didn't return it. Oh, sorry, no, he got 8 points in that, which there was a game before that. I forget who it was. I mean, we have played City and Arsenal not so long ago, and Everton away, I think, is a pretty tough fixture for an attacker.
I probably am minded to keep him. I will regret that. And also, Vezan in the live chat just says Watkins is a season keeper. It was a mistake. Yeah. It would be a mistake to get rid of him. And to be honest, last time I got rid of him, it was a mistake. I mean, I did get him for Darwin, so it was a double mistake. But Watkins did get returns during that time. So I'm already put off. Well done.
It was the blank as well against Sheffield United when so many people had him captained, and then so I get why people are maybe thinking, could we move him on because people want a forward spot free. But I don't think I would sell him. I think I'd be tempted to sell Solanke before Watkins, but that's just me.
I think he's also a viable captain. In game week 26 at home to Nottingham Forest.
And Newcastle next. I think we're at home in that one. I think could be goals in that for us. Okay. I think he's a hold.
Okay. In the live chat, please put some questions in and put a question mark on the end of it, and we'll try and go through them. So if you just bear with me, I'll get the right screen up. Okay. So I've got the live chat in front of me as well. Do put some questions in and we'll try and go through them. Chandrika says, I have Palmer, Richarlison, Saka, Gross and Salah. Wants to get Foden in. I'm reading this. I hope he doesn't swear. I'm reading this sort of straight. So planning to sell Palmer. Planning to sell Palmer as he has far tougher games. Thoughts, please. My immediate thought is do not sell Palmer. Even with his blank, carry him through. He's really cheap, still really cheap. He's on penalties. He's by light years the best player at Chelsea. And Chelsea have got a Man City player, basically, in their side. Yeah. A good one. So whatever your options are, don't sell Palmer. If you're basically saying Palmer v Foden, there's no contest. It's Palmer.
Yeah, I don't think I'd sell Palmer either, because you're probably looking at that Liverpool fixture, and then I think they play City in a few weeks, but they've got Wolves and Palace in between that. He's so important to that team, even against Middlesbrough last week, in the League Cup when they didn't score, he still had 2 or 3 really big chances. So yeah, I'd probably put Palmer, taking the price and everything into account. Probably, I don't think I would. And the other players that he had, I don't think I'd want to. Salah, you've got on the bench. I think he said he had Gross, didn't he? And Saka. So no, I don't think I would.
I mean, they're all good players he's got in there. So, I mean, I'm also, the caveat with me is I'm phenomenally patient, and hence be still having Haaland. But basically, a player's got to be like dead, but also like, a doctor, several doctors need to say that they're dead. I need to see death certificates before player moves from my team. Said says, why is no one talking about Robertson? Because he's injured. But then he adds, but he won't be before the double game week. Okay, so that is interesting. Yes. I hesitate to know how up to speed he will be if he is back indeed by 25. I think it's got to be Alexander-Arnold, Salah, and another, probably an attacker if you're going for a double game week there. But they might not double. By the time you watch this, Liverpool might not double. Yeah,
it was a shoulder knock, wasn't it? And I haven't heard a proper update from Klopp. I know that he said he wasn't close last month, but yeah, he probably is. He probably isn't too far away.
Yeah. Okay.
When Liverpool kind of switched formation and Alexander-Arnold started to move into the centre of midfield in possession, Robertson would kind of tuck in as that third kind of centre back. But then Tsimikas actually did pretty well when he came into the team in the same setup.
Yeah.
And Robertson will take some set pieces, and so he could be a good pick. But there's a lot of fixtures coming up for Liverpool. If you're getting them in for a double, you want them to play both matches, and we're going to need to know a lot more before even considering him, I think, about where he's at, and he's going to need to be playing games before that double as well. So I think Salah and Trent are probably the main two, and then you could, if you've got space, you can complement them with maybe another attacker.
Chandrika asks, if Haaland's not fit, then is Alvarez a good pick? Yes, I mean, we've always spoken about him as a captain. I don't know. I think if I owned him, I think even though there's no Salah this time around, just there's thought of there's better around, and is he getting the full-on returns? But yes, nevertheless, it's such a great fixture. It's got to be a Man City player, really, I would think. So yes, Alvarez, if Haaland's not back. Let's have a look, see more questions. Brian is saying, I'm with you, Joe, around Watkins. Well, actually, I've changed my mind around selling Watkins, but but he's in a different position to me. So, and he's in a position that a lot of people are in. They might want Haaland back. In fact, they will at some point. They need a slot. They've got 3 strikers. They've got Solanke. They've got whatever. They've got Watkins. And for some people, Watkins is going to be the one to leave.
Yeah.
So the question from that is, I mean, there's all sorts of strikers. Darwin, there's Alvarez as well. Who are the best strikers to remove for Haaland? And is Watkins anywhere near that list?
Well, I think probably most people. I mean, Alvarez, once Haaland's back, is obviously, if you've got him in your team, that's probably the guy to get rid of. Do you want to get rid of him before a double? That's something I need to think through. Probably yes, because I don't think he's going to play both of those games once Haaland's back and De Bruyne's coming back to fitness. So where does Alvarez fit in? So yeah, you probably can. And then most people have got Solanke and Watkins, haven't they? So, and if you don't own Alvarez and you need to sell, and Darwin, if you own Darwin, again, he's got a double coming up, hasn't he? So there is some big decisions. I'm more inclined to keep Watkins than Solanke because I think we're better than Bournemouth as a team. I think Villa will score more goals. Okay, so Watkins hasn't got penalties, so people might be looking at that thinking, could we take him out? But I think we're going to do well over this run. So, I mean, I'm looking at Bournemouth's fixtures. They've got West Ham, Forest, Fulham, Newcastle, Man City. So they're not bad fixtures. It is difficult.
Yeah,
but
it is difficult.
Maybe it's the Villa fan coming through. I mean, I've always been quite bullish on just keeping Watkins all year, and I think you can. But
I think Yeah, I mean that's the thing about Watkins is that he's really good, and it hasn't. I've got rid of him once this season. It hasn't gone well, so I'm reluctant to do that again. Let's see. Kaya is similar to me. He's got Haaland. If he's not fit by then, should we finally sell him? To be honest, I think if we get a definite that he's not playing, like we did last weekend against Newcastle, if we get an absolute definite that he's not ready, he cannot play that game, I might be tempted to remove him because I'm looking for a captain. But I don't know who I would get in as the alternative captain. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Basically, it would be Alvarez. And I think Foden's possibly a marginally better captain or similar captain to Alvarez.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think, and I think it really depends on that Tottenham game and Pep's quotes in and around that. Because if he didn't play against Tottenham, but then he said he'll get some minutes off the bench, or he's going to come, we're going to, bring him back slowly, but he's going to get minutes off the bench. You're not going to sell him then.
No.
Because you kept him for this long. But if he's definitely ruled out of that game week 22, that might set alarm bells ringing, thinking, well, he's just had 2 weeks off in Abu Dhabi and he's still not ready to play. Then you might be getting a bit twitchy.
And because I've done that hit for a Stupinan in my case, so I'm not carrying that dead weight with Lamptey. I'm in a position where I can actually do some weird hokey cokey without Haaland to Alvarez, and then I can just do it back again. Because, I mean, that sets me as sort of the transfer behind that I hope to be, but at the same time, the transfer behind that I'd hope to be up on people, but at the same time, how many times do you make a transfer and it goes wrong and ends up costing you points? So it might be better to handicap myself and have a transfer locked in. I don't know, lots to think about though. But yeah, Kaya, you and I will be keeping an eye on that Tottenham clean sheet team sheet next week.
Yeah, and we've also got Isak as well. I haven't mentioned with him with forwards. He looked good at the weekend. Admittedly, Wilson is coming back, so it's risky. But I think Isak, the way he's playing, I think he'll be. And the fixtures are good. So.
I gasped because I misread that their 23 fixtures 22. But yeah, Isak plays Villa. That's not a sort of captainable game for Isak. But then he's at home to Luton.
It's after.
But he's at home to Luton in 23. I'm thinking, God, if Haaland's definitely out for that, Isak coming in and being a captain that week, that's now you're talking. But yeah, it's just doesn't quite fall as nicely. Dylan, or otherwise known as FPL Chai, who's God knows where he is in the overall rankings. He veers between like 2nd and 10th. But he's somewhere up there. Best 3 attackers going forward, in your opinion? Okay. I'm going to assume Haaland is fine. In which case, I think it would be Haaland, Tony, and Watkins. So a glue player. That's a bit fancy pick with Tony. He does have a double. I don't like the fixtures, but it's Tony and it's a double and Haaland.
Yeah, I think I would go Haaland, Solanke and Watkins.
Yes.
But then I'd like to see Tony at the weekend, see Brentford, who are really struggling as well, just to see how they look, if it kind of reinvigorates them or not. Yeah. And then the only way Tony would get in above Solanke and Watkins, I think, is in that spot, would be for the double, because the fixtures around it aren't appealing for me.
Yeah, because Bournemouth's fixtures are good, 23, 24. They've got Forest and Fulham. And then Isak should be in the mix as well. He's got Luton and Nottingham Forest over 23, 24.
It's just Wilson coming back is a little bit off-putting for Isak.
I guess the complicated answer to the best 3 attackers is that there's 6 best attackers.
Well, there's options, isn't there? And João Pedro as well can be thrown in there with everybody away, can't it?
All the good fixtures. I don't think you would go wrong with any of those ones that we've mentioned. There we go. It's a bit of a fudging the answer, but I can't see you would go. If I saw Isak, Tony, Pedro front line, I would think, wow, they've looked at the fixtures. They looked at the form.
maybe FPL Chai could tell us who the three best
Yeah,
forwards are,
yeah,
because he's
exactly.
obviously doing very well.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm even answering his question. You tell us. Roy Nish, would you start Palmer versus Liverpool and City? Though that hints he's not. Yeah. He's on penalties. Liverpool's defence is not like ooh.
Yeah, I think it depends on your squad. Obviously, I don't dislike Ben. I don't. I'm not saying don't bench him, because sometimes in certain scenarios it can work for these tough away matches. But the fact he's on penalties always gives him, he doesn't have to play well. Chelsea don't have to play as well, and he can still get points. And you saw at the weekend, he gets the penalty and then he just about hung on to maximum bonus, didn't he? That probably
Yeah.
won't happen as much at a game like Liverpool, because they'll probably score a few. But yeah, I wouldn't completely say never bench Palmer, but it would have to be for a good reason, and you'd have to have.
Yeah.
I think he's on my bench in my best team for the week, but only because only because I've got Salah and Alexander Arnold and
Yeah.
players like that in the starting 11, and
Yeah.
realistically Salah isn't going to play. So
No.
yeah, he will play for me.
Gamal says if we get some City leaks next week and we find out that KDB starts,
Yeah,
I think that's unlikely, but you never know. Would you do
I don't know.
Foden to KDB? No, I wouldn't. Or Alvarez to Haaland? That's probably a separate issue. But for me, I'd be tempted to move Salah to KDB and captain him if I get a definite that he's going to start.
Yeah,
and then,
Tuesday. It's on the Tuesday, isn't it?
And then I've got a Salah KDB problem in my team that I'm just kicking down the line. But it's not a bad problem to have. Which of these amazing players do you want in your team?
I don't see him getting more than 60. I think he might be on the bench again for that Spurs game, maybe on the Friday, and then play 60 and gradually up it after that. That could be enough against Burnley. And of course, that Foden, the impact of that will be that he probably won't play an essential role then. But yeah, if De Bruyne is starting at home against Burnley,
Yeah.
I think, if you can get to him, I think it's interesting because De Bruyne, I think this last game with De Bruyne has really has got people excited about it. It's great to have him back. I still think De Bruyne as an FPL asset is below Haaland, Salah, and Son, I think. And he's kind of in that next kind of bracket. Because I think a lot of his threat is from long range in terms of goal threat. And that's fine for a player like De Bruyne. He scores a lot. But I wouldn't put him up there with those three. And so I think we have to kind of remember that as well. Because we're going to be, you can't just keep shifting players around. You've got to think about transfers and hits and what the ideal team. And so I'm looking at him because he's got Burnley, he's got a double game week coming up, but you've also, don't forget those other players, Son coming back, Salah coming back, Haaland coming back, because you can't have them all, so you've just got to prioritise who you want.
Dennis in the live chat says Brentford have Spurs away and Man City, why would you get Tony in? Why would I consider getting Tony in? Well, did you see Tony against Man City last season? And have you seen Spurs defence? So they're good fixtures for Tony.
I do get the fixtures thing, because and Brentford are really playing badly at the moment, but let's see them against Forest at the weekend. That Tony coming back is going to give them a massive lift. It's going to give them a focal point, which they haven't had all season, because Wissa and Mboma are very different strikers to Tony. And if he comes and gets a brace in at the weekend, then I don't think people will be looking at that fixture at Tottenham and thinking, I'm not going to get him in, because Tottenham, they've got Van der Ven and Romero back, but I don't see many clean sheets for them still, personally.
Seeing a few, this is interesting the way the narrative goes with Haaland. So a few people in the live chat, Jamie's saying, I'm probably not bothering with Haaland either. He's terrible value for money. Obviously don't bother if he's not playing, but come back after he scored his hat-trick and he's owned by 107 effective ownerships, 170%. And then you say you're not going to bother with Haaland. That's the thing. Easy to say now when he's not around. But when he's whipping in hat-tricks and he's owned by half the team, owned by like virtually everyone, and they're all captaining him.
I mean, the guy's scored, 14 goals this year, 36 last year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why he's priced that highly.
I won't rule him out. I think he's quite good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call it all to the questions there. Lots of sort of similar questions there. So apologies if we didn't answer your question. It's sort of slightly different. There are lots of questions here, like say, should we get a Stupinan in? Yes, he's very good. But obviously that's ahead of Brighton's match in Game Week 21, where they play Wolves. But Brighton are top of the fixtures there. So I'm biased as a Brighton fan. So to caveat that, but they are top of the season ticket. Also just top in general. Okay. Tom, thanks so much for your time. Good luck next century whenever Game Week 22 launches.
Yeah.
And
we're back next week, aren't we? And we'll obviously we'll go through the bus teams and we'll know a little bit more then anyway.
We'll have a bit more then. We'll be back. We're back every Tuesday. So I think that's just before the actual deadline itself. So we'll have lots more. We'll probably be a bit more Q&A for that one, I imagine, because we'll have already done it, and we'll put our bus teams up again probably. But we'll try and reveal the goals imminent facts and figures, who's due a goal next week, I think, which would be good. Okay, thanks everyone for the live chat for joining us. Do remember to press that like button, do remember to subscribe, and do have a look at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for the latest members offers there, and create your own stats tables, all that kind of stuff. Tom, thanks a lot for your time. Take care. See you soon.
Thanks, Joe.